Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is going to be another podcast we're doing in our series on YouTube. This time we're here with Ian and also my favorite caster of all time, Rivington, as well. So
Oh,
this is a great moment for me. I wanted to do this for a while. We sadly had to reschedule last time because of a trip that I had
did.
unexpectedly, but here we are. We're doing it, and we're live. That's it.
Yeah.
How was
Esports
that?
be
How was
that
that
way
for an
though.
intro?
Like we could get a call right now and you could be
hmm
okay, I got to go do a show. That's easy.
Yep. Yep. I got a
Jacob,
call and had
I'm
to
out of
go.
a job. That was a good intro. You were a little bit
Yeah.
nervous coming into this. What can't you do? Like we were
Uh,
just talking just
Mhm.
before we went live about everything that you can do, and skill set's endless, man.
Well, the one thing I can't do is write a script, so I kind of just winged it. I feel like the
Nice.
clap's perfect. But anyway, so I wanted to introduce everybody. So, me first of all, I'll say hello. I'm Jacob. I currently work at Project Striker with Gravity Media and Riot. So I work as a technical director and an EVS person. Basically, I do replays and I spin this wheel thing that nobody really knows exists, but we make things happen magically behind the scenes. And I also do a lot of producing, for fun at home. I make YouTube videos to try and teach everybody, and that's pretty much what I do. Up to you, Ian, if you want to
Yeah.
introduce yourself.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Jacob. I'm Ian. I'm a esports and gaming stage and desk host. Started off in TV and radio. Transitioned into working in the gaming world about 4 years ago. Never looked back. Greatest decision of my life. Traveling the world. Kid from the north of England, living his dream. So yeah, I'm lucky every day that I get to do the stuff that I get to do. So yeah, thanks for having me, Jacob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Guess that leaves it up for me. It's my turn. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Over the 20 plus years I've been in esports, I don't get interviewed often, so this is
Mhm.
really cool. Usually I'm the one interviewing people. So thank you very much. This is neat. I am Rivington Bislin III, Rivington Bruce Bislin III, if you want to do the full name. I am actually the third in my family. How the name was brought over, I believe it was James Rivington. He was a Tory back in the day. We don't have to get into it. And then there's a street in New York called Rivington, and I believe throughout a line, my family adopted the name and kind of came out of New York. So I am a commentator. I have been for a very long time. And I love FPS. It's where I started, and my roots have been forever. I work on motorcycles a lot. That's kind of a recent venture as of like 2016. I had a problem with motorcycle, so I was like, I'm never taking it back to the shop. So I love that as a hobby. And I do that in between commentating for VCT, Game Changers, and a bunch of other Valorant events right now. If I'm not doing some like random stuff for like a GameStop presentation.
Oh yeah. Like, honestly, when I watch your motorcycle streams, I never have any idea what's going on. I just see like four cameras in like a multi-view, and I just see you
Heck
walking around
yeah.
fixing stuff, and I'm like,
Perfect.
I might as well just have it on the side while I'm playing some games. There's like some background noise sometimes. Like you walk up
We
to
take
the
all
screen,
the
read the
lurkers.
chat.
Come on, man.
Literally, just lurking the whole time. That's the way to go. But yeah, like I said, I'm honored to have both of you here as well. I've worked a ton with Ian in the past. I've never had the pleasure to work with you, but maybe in the future we will. Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
But moving on to something you slightly touched on is your journey on how you actually got into esports. So I'll
Yeah.
quickly start a little bit with how I did it. I basically just self-learned most of my stuff, spoke to as many people as I could, just asked for advice from everybody. I tried to stay nice to people as much as I can, just be kind to people, and then things kind of snowballed. And as I learned more and more and more, I just got to where I am, just kind of by just bouncing around. It's just mainly connections, networking with people like Ian, people like you, and then just kind of recommending a good person to another good person, and kind of here we are. That's kind of like the quick, simplified version of how I started my journey. But how about you?
Esports is very quick in connections, isn't it? Like
hmm
I miss the days of having like a PAX to go to when they were the old PAXs, when there was like a bunch of game developers there and everybody had enough money to get that bit of floor space. Now it's like buying a house. But yeah, connections are everything, and I know we'll touch on that later.
hmm
But for me, it came out of Counter Strike 1.6. a game that like I installed it for the first time and broke my PC, so I didn't play it for like a year, and I wonder what would have happened if I still had that year and what would have advanced. But I started playing and I learned about like competitive drive in a video game, that adrenaline rush, that like I'm in a 1v3 situation, you're like, oh, I got it, and then your body's like, where is that again? Bring me that back.
I mean, I've never had that feeling, so I wouldn't know what it feels like to win a 1v3. But I'm glad at least one of us has experienced that.
And that, yeah, it'll be there. It'll come. Counter-Strike 2's out. Let's go. We'll all play after. And I was like, this is amazing. So I played for a while, and I had whatever public servers you played on, and I had no idea about the competitive side until I heard there's like a channel on IRC, GBL, hashtag GBL, Game Broadcast Live. And it was a teacher from Ithaca, New York. She was my age now, at the time. And her name was GBL Mandy. But she was commentating Counter-Strike. And I was like, people commentate video games? This is crazy. And I was like, oh my God, I can relate to that play. I can relate to that play. Oh my God. I was like, wait a minute. I love this. And at the time, I had like a 800 megahertz Pentium 3 HP Pavilion with a 13 gig, maybe even like 1.3 gig hard drive, who knows? And I was like, I want to do this. I can't do this. Like, oh my God. But that was like my introduction into what esports was and my drive for it. And from that, I did everything I could to like stream on Winamp, download songs off LimeWire and Kazaa so I could DJ for people on a Winamp URL and be like, I'm doing something like with the community over like URL online, yada, yada. And then it kind of escalated from there into many.
Speaking of DJing, if I'm gonna quickly.
Here we go.
I'm loving the Snorlax behind you, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I tried starting to learn as well. It's pretty fun.
Heck yeah. See, So DJing back on Winamp was you
just
selecting somebody wanted.
Well, listen to this. I do the same thing, and I just fade between. So this is
nice.
This is pretty useless.
It's fascinating. I always, ever since being in esports, and gaming in general, I always find it fascinating because everybody's got a different journey, a different story as to how they found it and started to make a living doing it. And someone like you, Riv, and I say the same about like guys like Vansili and like the OGs who've been around for a long time. I think in any profession, if you're able to do it for as long as you guys have and continue to do it at the highest level, that's a testament to your skill set, right? And how good you are at what you do. Because it's a young man's game, young woman's game in reality, and
damn
at the
straight.
same time as being able to do what you do and respect and pass that experience on to people coming through as well. I'm talking like you're probably the same age as me, man. It's just that I haven't been in esports as long. So my background, I wasn't privy or even exposed to how big it was becoming until maybe later than a lot of people. I was grinding as a journalist when I was younger, and then I was working a lot in the news, and then went into TV broadcasting here in the UK and breakfast and drive time radio and stuff like that, and then just got one shot. Someone dropped out for an ESL UK Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six gig, and they needed a stage host. And I remember the moment I walked through the doors for this event in Manchester, England, I was like, "Nah, I'm quitting everything." It's just, as a guy
Dude,
who grew up,
there's a drive there.
It's crazy. I mean, I've always had that feeling in me, thinking, when am I going to find the thing that I love? And growing up as a gamer, like it's all I wanted to do when I was a kid. That was whenever I had spare time, I'm gaming. And then to be able to turn it into a job, it's just and I said it at the start, I sound probably a little bit OTT with it all, but I still can't believe it. The stuff that we get to do, it's nuts.
It is absolutely amazing. And like I said, the connections, being able to go to events and like experience the different ways and that everybody does it, you're like, oh my God, that's another avenue. That's another one. Oh my God, like that's more content. It's saturated, but it's still, there's more. There's always new ideas. It's an incredible space.
Do you find pressure on yourself, Riv, like to keep evolving, to keep getting better, to keep changing, or are you that confident in the abilities that you've gained over the years that you've almost like mastered your craft, or you're always looking to continue to grow and be better?
So that was actually a really big eye opener. It's a great question. When I switched and went from play by play to analyst, and just understanding that w- it made me actually be able to finally take a back seat in what I was doing in play by play and kind of look at it as a whole. Because when you're involved in something, it's hard to look at it without going over the same speed bumps or having somebody else talk to you about it, right? It's like changing in a relationship with yourself. You can't really do it until you step away from the thing and then come back and be like, oh, okay. And going to the analyst side, I realized the way I was presenting things had to change. The verbiage had to change. I was the one presenting the point, so I couldn't say those mollies in mid are creating such a great defensive position for the defensive side. Attackers can't get through in this position, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, mollies in mid." From like what? And then my analyst brain would kind of approach that with like present actually who's doing it, what's happening, and be like, vanity smokes in mid are preventing everything from happening for the attacker's side. And it's more robust. You get to attach to somebody, you get to attach to something, and I can be more succinct with it. So changing from that play-by-play call where somebody else is going to be succinct and come up with the formula that tells you everything that happened in that fight, I had to do it. I couldn't play-by-play my analysis, but I was, and I think that was like a really big thing in changing and going from one thing to the other and seeing myself have to improve in my craft. And I always felt like that in play-by-play as well. I like the way I commentated in League of Legends, but the in and the out of my commentary was sometimes muddled. I'd get overexcited, and my brain would just be like, add this word. And that's when you get Riv word salad. And you're just like, oh, wait, I get it. But Riv did the Rivism again. So like in improving myself, I stepped on myself a lot. And instead of being able to take a step back and be like, where do I actually improve that assists my flow of commentary, this kind of hype commentary that punches you in the face, that gets you relating to the situation that you've diffused, that you've gotten the Baron steal, that you've made the sick play that's going to win the game, and accentuate that a bit more. And that, I think, at the end, I failed to do with my play-by-play, as I kind of just atrophied in my commentary. I was focused on interviews to nobody else's fault, really. And then the resurgence of Valorant was like so beautiful for me because it was FPS. It was, again, back to my roots, and holy shit, it felt really good.
See, I started basically watching esports back in 2011. I played games a lot because my brother did. My brother bought me my first laptop from his student loan money that he got, so I was like super hyped. And I started playing like Minecraft, the like really early version in the beta where it wasn't working. I was like trying to like make videos on it using like Bandicam and stuff. I tried to put a USB stick to the PC so I can like record the files onto it so it stops lagging and stuff. And it was the best time ever. And my brother just kept watching like just esports. He kept watching League of Legends and he was a massive TSM fan from like the beginning. And I went into his room one day and I was like, "What are you watching?" And he was watching League of Legends. He was watching like the LCS. And from that moment, I was like, "This is really cool." And I started watching it as well. I started playing League of Legends. I spent so much time on that game. I'm an ADC fan for like life right there.
Oh, let's go.
Got the marksman tattoo. So
Okay.
literally, League of Legends has pretty much been my whole life, and since like 2011, when my brother was like watching the LCS, I've watched it since, and that's when I discovered all of like the broadcasting world, pretty much. I started trying to get into graphics design, video editing when I was 11 years old, and I just kind of did it in my spare time. I made like random memes and stuff. I went on Reddit and I would like make wallpapers for people with like league champions in their names so I can practice. And I just kind of loved it since then. And then that's when I discovered you as well, casting and everything. And I thought it was so sick and I loved it so much. And then watching EU LCS back in the day when it was called EU LCS, for some reason, me being from Europe, from Poland originally, and living in England and Ireland now, I don't know why, but I have something for American accents in broadcasting. I think they sound so good.
Oh, snap.
So a lot of people that I speak
Never
to,
heard that.
a lot of people in Europe
Like
that I
the
speak
inner
to,
part of me
Yeah.
just got so giddy.
I just don't. For some reason, I'm not a fan of European accents in broadcasting because I like
Excuse me?
Americanized broadcasting, and I don't like people from Hull, Ian. From Hull, especially. That's where you're from. But I was also a big fan of sports back in the day, but I kind of went on to enjoying more like American football, and knowing that how much Riot tried to kind of like make it very sporty, I kind of really like that element, and I just love the way the broadcasts were done to kind of sound more like, oh, this play is sponsored by this, boom, sponsored play, cool video plays, or I am this and you're watching this, boom. I feel like you don't really get that in Europe, so I kind of became a massive fan of that when I was like younger,
Oh
and
my
that's
gosh.
kind of what got me into broadcasting. So I am a bit of an LCS chill, and every time I'm in the studio here, and literally a few days ago, the director, Jack Schneider, who's directing Worlds right now, he was in the cafeteria, and I walk up to him and I'm like, "How's your day going?" He's like, "Oh, fine, good." I'm like, "Are you looking forward to EU?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got hope." And I'm like, "No, you guys are gonna lose. NA will win." And here we are. So that's kind
Yep.
of how I got introduced to your casting and esports in general, just following League of Legends and TSM because of my brother from 2011. And since that, I've followed it since, just watched literally everything there was. I even have clips saved of like combos of TSM destroying CLG,
Oh
unlisted videos
snap.
on YouTube from like 8 years ago, like Wombo
Contraband.
combo with like Rumble, all the contraband, literally. But like I said, League of Legends is my life, and like hearing that you starting in like FPS games and then moving on to Valorant, that was like a
Oh.
massive thing for you. I'm kind of trying to do the opposite now. So me being starting in League of Legends, working right now on a lot of Valorant, I want to do the
Mhm.
opposite. I want to move from Valorant into League of Legends because of how
Oh.
much of like um, that game and how important it was to me, like
Yeah.
back when I was starting off. So it's kind of like similar path to
I love
yours,
that.
but the exact opposite. Yeah.
I love
I don't
that.
think you
Yeah.
can put a price on having that ambition and drive, Jacob, that you've got. One of the things most people struggle with in life, not just in broadcasting and
Mhm.
esports, whatever, is having that not the end game. Of course, we always want to carry on. We always think that this is my dream, and then sometimes you'll live your dream and you'll go,
Mhm.
no shit, I want to live another dream now.
Mhm.
But like Jacob, the fact that you're lasered in on wanting to do that, and you know that you want to get there at 23 years old is a good thing, I think, because a lot of people don't have that that laser focus.
Yeah, I kind of knew from the beginning I do want to work on League. That was like my number one goal, and I got there a lot sooner than I expected. That's primarily the reason why I also came to Ireland, to Dublin, to live here, because we have like the most advanced broadcasting facility now here that Riot built, and this is pretty
Damn.
much the only way that you can kind of work full time in League of Legends and Valorant. It's kind of like one of the pathways to go into, and it's just very risky being a freelancer. Even though I enjoyed freelancing and just traveling the world, meeting you in random places all the time, just showing up in Ian's there, that was fun. But not gonna do much of that anymore. But I kind of don't mind trading that for like my passion, like you said. So for me, this was kind of my end goal, and I got here a lot quicker than I kind of expected. But now I'm kind of like trying to think what I want for like my future. But it's definitely staying in the industry, but just like moving up and up and up with my roles to just kind of, um, I guess, doing more important roles, I guess. But yeah, for as long as League of Legends is alive, I will be alive with it. That's it.
There you go.
I'm just a League of Legends shill. That's it. And this
So
is
you're gonna
like
live forever,
Heck
then, is what you're
yeah.
saying?
probably.
Oh my gosh.
TSM didn't live forever, and they were my favorite team. They're gone from League of Legends now, sadly. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Damn.
Riv,
There's still TSM chance that live on.
Maybe in the LPL, I think it was, but who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows? I don't have any faith anymore. My faith was gone every time they went to Worlds and failed and went 0-6 in groups.
Riv, I know you've touched on some of the passion that you've had and that you have of like telling those stories, making sure that those moments matter, and bringing that hype and I guess gravitas to key moments in key games and matches. But what do you think has been your favorite part of the job over the last 20 years? Is it that? Is it those key hype moments? Is it calling those clutch victories, or is it the relationships you build, the places in the world that you get to visit that you wouldn't have ever dreamed of? Like, what would you say? It's hard to pick a favorite thing, but what are some of the key things that you've taken away from your career so far?
It's very hard to pick a favorite thing, but it overall is the experiences. And I actually listed a few looking at the questions beforehand. So I have some. My favorite experience that I ever had was 2014 Worlds. Just experience wise, and that's an alarm for some reason. With when Imagine Dragons was in Korea, it was the whole Korea trip. We were in Songnam Stadium at World Cup Stadium. Me being a soccer player of 18 years, like I also wanted to roll around on the grass like Imp did. I think I refrained. I might have actually. I can't remember now. But like being there, playing League with Imagine Dragons, being there front stage for the event, casting the event with Jat and Deem or Jat and Joe rather, at the time, like that had to be one of the most wild experiences I've had. My favorite moment comes from August 2015 when I presented Rush with the MVP of the Split Award for summer on stage at Madison Square Garden. And that was the
Crazy.
first time my parents had seen me present esports live in person. My mother grew up in Albany. My dad grew up in Massapequa, Long Island. So he actually his father worked at the ticket office for Madison Square Garden. And the last time my dad was there to see Led Zeppelin in like the 70s. So the next time was me walking out on stage to give Rush's MVP award.
That's an upgrade, in my opinion. That's an upgrade.
Yeah, that makes my heart like flutter every time I think about that moment and the fact that my parents were there to see it and like what it meant to my dad. Like I always get kind of teary eyed when I think of that. And then my favorite cast, without a doubt, hands down, was with DeFicio and Azael in 2017 quarterfinals. SKT at the time. I was gonna call them T1. SKT versus Misfits. The Ignar era. That game, the 5-game series, was one of the most amazing series. Misfits almost drops SKT out of a tournament. Like the whole thing was amazing. And made SKT drop a map rather. The series. It was amazing. The whole lead up to it, the silver scrapes, I'll remember that cast for a very, very long time. So those are 3 moments that like super ring true about everything. And then it just being able to cast the whole time, do what I love. Like I think that's one of the biggest things is like you said, that those relatable moments across games and genres and whatever, bringing people in, making them realize the game. One moment I have to bring this up before I throw it off is we used to do events for WCG back in like 2003 to 2007 or 8. It was really one of the big ways I got into commentary in the scene as esports TV Bruce with esports TV. This Jordan kid in New York City. It was like, let's start a thing. And then we started getting hired by WCG. And I remember casting an event. We're in the 3rd floor of the Time Warner building. It's like a mall. It's the Samsung Center. So Samsung's like, here are our prototype things you can't buy, but come in and look at them. And they make it into a LAN center for the weekend. And this old lady comes up to me when I am screaming my head off about Gears of War and people getting knocked, ink grenaded, like sniped out. And she comes over after the cast and she's like, you make this so interesting and understanding. Thank you. And I was just like, thank you. I was like, holy shit. Like that hit me so hard. I was like, all right, we're doing something right. And that was early. And I was just like, let's roll with this. Let's keep doing. So thanks to that lady. Thank you. I miss you and I want to hug you.
What about
I'm
you,
just
Ian?
so well.
What are your favorite experiences? Yeah.
I was just going to say I'm so jealous that I came into esports after when Gears wasn't as big anymore. Because like, if I could work in any game, like
That's a
to go
hype
back,
game to cast.
Gears, man. Because I was actually I was good at Gears. Well, I'm still good at. You put me in Gears, you don't want none of this. So I'm just going to say that.
Okay, let's go.
So
We'll talk about this.
I've seen you play games before, Ian. I've seen you play games before.
Oh no,
but not Gears. I think my favorite moment has to be host when I stepped out to stage host Rainbow Six Invitational in Montreal this year, just because like it was my first game that I ever worked in, and it was the first time that it's really hit me the I guess the magnitude and not pressure. I love pressure. Like nothing gets me more excited than pressure.
Hell yeah!
And you know, like when you picture like an entire the arena was full. Like it starts with this huge production package, and then there's an orchestra on the center of the stage, and then it all comes to a crescendo, and I say the first words into the mic, and I kick off the event. And in my ear, I've got the countdown
Good
of,
feeling.
right, Ian to you in 3. And for a second, I just said to myself, I was like, Ian, this is the shit that you've dreamed of, and you're about to do it. And I remember I was just walking. It was like walking on clouds. I can't explain it. I was just like, this is amazing. And ever since then, I've had this real like fundamental appreciation for when I get booked as a host of any kind.
Heck
I've
yeah.
got some big gigs coming up in November, and when you actually think about how much time, effort, money, coordination goes into putting these events on and bringing it all together, and then when you're privileged enough to be the voice that puts it out,
Right. They rely on you.
yeah, and as much as I love it, I like I said, I love the pressure of it all. And I was about to say when you were talking about casting some huge moments, and I've got such a crazy admiration for the top level casters, because I actually think it's a different level, an upper echelon of intelligence, because the articulation you have to have, the dictionary times a million that you have to have locked in your brain at all times. I just mentioned there, and there'll be casters out there that would find doing what I just mentioned for the SI and intro as a daunting, horrible, like scary experience.
Sure.
I got booked. My agent once rang me and was like, "Oh, I've got you locked in for a Call of Duty cast." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I was shitting myself for 2 days straight, like, because I just knew that that's not my skill set, because I just can't. It's not something that I can do.
And you don't want to do it injustice either. Like you respect the game itself.
That's it. So
People
like,
watch it.
Yeah, 100%. So like, yeah, I think that, and Japan is coming up soon. I'm doing an event in Japan, and as soon as I got booked, I called my mum, and she's obsessed with Japanese culture, and to be able to call her up and say, "Right, mum, I'm booking your flights. You're coming with me. I'm going to take you around."
Let's go.
Yeah, it's like, if that's the last thing I get to do in this industry, I've completed the game. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Jacob?
Stuff. Let's hear it.
So working wise, my favorite experience was in Lisbon. I was doing an event with Blast for CS:GO, and the crowd was insane. I was working as the front of house director. I was right in the middle of the crowd on the ground floor, and everybody around me was just jumping. I couldn't hear my producer. We had to look at each other the whole time. We had like these massive headphones that were like just noise cancelling, but we could not hear each other at all. We had to look at each other every time we wanted to do something. We were like waving our arms, like, what's happening? Like, we were just like writing in text on like our computers, messaging each other because we could not hear a thing. The crowd were just constantly jumping. It was so loud in the arena. It was incredible. I loved it so much. It was such a cool experience, and the fans made it so good. Obviously, I don't have anything from being on camera because I'm always behind it, but most of the good experiences come from the scale of the event and how much like the fans love it. Because if the fans enjoy the event, I automatically enjoy it. I also really, really, really enjoyed San Francisco for Worlds Finals. That was my first ever league event that I actually was able to attend. That I could.
Oh, the most recent one?
Exactly, yeah. That was my first. Technically, that was my second League of Legends event. My first one was a show match between Excel and another team years ago. I think it was like 2020. But that was like a single best of 3 or best of 5. It was just a tiny show match. There wasn't many people there, but this was like my proper first league event. And when I was watching the opening ceremony, I had like a media pass, so I had like a nice table to myself in the back, just sitting there.
Ooh.
And I literally like cried when I was watching the whole thing like unveil. It was such a cool experience. I always like watched everything online, and then I was like sending everything to my brother, sending it to my parents, showing them how sick everything was. I got to meet so many cool people, and it was just so good. I met somebody that I worked with for a very long time that helped me start my career. Somebody called Andrew Lane. He used to work at Faceit. Now he works at ESL Faceit Group.
Heck yeah.
He was just there, and he messaged me, "Oh, I'm in San Francisco as well. Come over." So we just sat there, just drinking at the bar, and then having a ton of fun. We were just right next to like the perfect position for like the trophy lift, right in front of it. I got some like very memorable moments. I got to speak to Lil Nas X. I got to speak with all the performers.
Yeah.
So it was
cool.
awesome.
You're just like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, it was insane. We got to ask me and a really good friend of my ravishing ravishing casts is his Twitter name.
Yep.
I took him over with me so we can do some journalism there, pretty much just kind of a for fun thing because I wasn't working the event. So I thought, why not go there and just do something? You know, they'll let us bring a camera. So he asked some questions to Faker as well that he answered, which was really awesome for him as well. I got a recording of that I never sent to him because he asked me for it, but I forgot to, so I'll do that afterwards. So he can have that in his memory books.
Just wait for his birthday. Be like,
yeah, literally, I'll wait for his birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was such a sick experience, and I never thought I'd be in a position or in a place to do that. And it was also San Francisco. Me being from like Poland and not really having much money growing up, I never thought I'd be in a place like that.
Yeah, iconic place.
But yeah, exactly. And I genuinely think that experiences are the most valuable thing in life. I don't really. I stopped kind of caring about. This is gonna sound very stupid, and do not take this advice, but I kind of stopped caring about saving money because I'd rather spend it on an experience that I will remember for the rest of my life. And then if I need money later in the future, I'll just try and make more money or something.
I've tried to chill him on this. You know, like I remember once we were in London. He's like, we're walking by every shop, and he's like, "Should I buy this? Should I buy that?" And I was like, "Listen, bro. When I was 23, I didn't care about money either. But at some point, you got just squirrel. Just do me a favor, Jacob. Just squirrel a little bit away for me. Is that all right?
Yep.
Well,
Or your stash.
I was looking at my stash on the left, and it's yeah, I shouldn't buy more stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I think just every time I visit any event, I think my favorite experience from it is being in that country, in that place. If I have to work for 10 days out of the 11 days that I'm there, you bet 2 hours before the call time, I will wake up and go explore. And then after the show, I will go and explore and then talk to people. Because
you are
it's
an
so good.
advanced type.
I love it. I just don't like resting. I don't like it.
15 minutes before call time now.
No, I think other than the blowing all your money, which don't get me wrong, I am a fan of.
Do that.
No, I'm kidding. I am a fan of experiencing, and I'm. If you spoke to my girlfriend, she'd tell you I'm just as bad. But at the same time, Jacob, I think at 23 years old, you've got a wise head on your shoulders, and you're enjoying all the things that you should enjoy about this because it goes quick. I can tell you now from experience that when I felt like I was 23 yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's cool because you can go to these events and you can get booked to go to these places, and you arrive, you get off, you get an Uber to the hotel. You're in the hotel. You're at the event, hotel, event, home. Whereas I'm the same as you. Like I always try and at least book a few days either side if possible to explore because it's part of the joy of the job that we're in, isn't it?
Yeah, I think my life changed just exploring so many different cultures. Like growing up in Poland and then moving to England, I didn't really have like a massive view on like the whole world. But then being able to go to Mexico, to America, to Portugal, to Spain, literally everywhere around Europe, places in the US. I've never been to Asia. No, I have been to Asia, sorry. I haven't been to much of Asia, but I do really want to go visit more. But that gives me such a massive perspective of everything, and it makes me appreciate culture so much more. And I feel like the more people are exposed to it, the better, and it makes just the world a better place. And like I said,
Sure.
You guys flying out like parents and stuff to events. I got my sister and my niece, who is a massive fan of Valorant. She's like the coolest kid at school because she has a right gun buddy, so she's like super popular.
Don't you love that? I love
exactly,
that. I love
it's
that.
so cool.
That's so funny.
Literally, I took them to an event in Denmark and Copenhagen to the Royal Arena, which just had the Fortnite finals there recently. But I took them to go see CS:GO, and they went for the finals. It was just my sister, my niece, and they loved it. They were just sitting in the crowd. They had the Navi jerseys on. And then it was just a cool event. Even if you don't understand esports or FPS games, when there is fire exploding everywhere and people are screaming, it's a cool atmosphere. It's a cool event. So that was like a really cool thing to do. And I kind of sharing my experiences with as much of my family as I can, because they didn't get the chance to do it in the past. And as Ian said, like his mum really loves like Japanese culture and stuff, and him taking her there, that's going to mean so much to her, and it's like a memory he's going to have like forever. So I kind of want to kind of stay and keep doing that as much as I can, even though I'm not traveling as much. So I guess Ireland will have to do for now.
Right, I'm coming in because you talked about sharing experiences there, and I've got a question for the big man, Riv. Right?
Okay,
I'm gonna because look, this pod is about Riv, so I'm just going to give my piece of advice first to anybody watching this that's thinking, if we can give some advice, whether this is like clipped up later or you're watching right now, as to how to make it and how to stay within it. My number one absolute go-to piece of advice that I give to everybody is be a good person and be fun to work with and be around. Everything else, like, you can work on yourself and go do behind the scenes and improve and get better, but nothing will get you more work than being a great person. And you can't force it, unfortunately. So if you're a bad person, sorry, you're out of the game. No, but like,
yes,
but being good to work with and kind and making the people that matter feel like they matter, not just the people in the green room with you, but everybody behind the scenes that make these productions work. But Riv, that's me done. I'm coming to you. You've been in this game, you've been in this industry a lot longer than me. What's your advice to anybody out there going, hey, I want a piece of that? What can the OG tell them?
First of all, I'm going to agree and add on to yours real quick. Your first impression on somebody is the one that lasts. Make sure it's a good one and just be a good person, like Ian said, okay? Secondly, I think it's always smart to realize, or it's always good to realize that the people you're looking at have probably done this for a very, very long time. You don't just start and hit the ground running. It's improbable that's going to happen. So when you look at somebody that you want to be like, that you want to cast like, that's an idol for you, think about where they were 5 years before that, 6 years before that. That's where they started. You're not missing out because you can't do what they do right now, today. Think about where they started. Take that pressure off yourself and build your skills while still understanding that that's what you want to focus on and you have a path. So be good and don't put too much pressure on yourself, but get started. Because if you're asking how now, it might be too late. I want to see Artie VODs. I want to say, hey, do you want to look at this VOD I did? That's a way better conversation than how do I get started? It'll do a lot more for you.
That's so accurate.
I never heard that advice from anybody, but that is insane. As in, I haven't heard it that well said, because most people just say, just start, but I never heard somebody say, do you want to look at my VOD? But if somebody literally did say that, that's...
Right? You're like, oh, okay, they're invested. That's cool. I'll be a little invested and see.
Yeah, I can tell you, if somebody came up to me and said, how do you get into broadcasting? And if somebody messaged me and said, oh, can you look at the show that I did and what can I do better? I'd instantly respond to the person who said, oh, I did the show, can you help me? Instantly, straight away.
It's nuts. It's
like, that you're invested.
I look back to 5-6 years ago, and my manager back when I was in radio, I wanted everything right there and then. Like, and it's so annoying because I wouldn't listen at the time, but he just kept telling me that the best like tool you can have as you're working hard is patience, and I didn't have any. And if I could go back, I'd have enjoyed those years so much more if I would have just have had faith in the process. Like, patience is the hardest skill to master. Tough.
For sure.
Patience is bitter.
Hi, Jacob.
But its fruits are sweet.
Took the good ones. What do you got? Give us some even greater.
Okay. Good. See, my number one piece of advice is always just to be nice and kind to everybody, because, like you said, well,
I mean,
it's just the number one thing. That shouldn't even be advice, honestly. That should just be a foundation. One piece of advice I would give is, you guys stole all the good ones. God damn it! Now I know how it feels to be like the last analyst on the desk to be asked a question. God damn it. Ian, now I know how it feels if you're ever hosting a show and you ask the analyst something. So apart from being kind to everybody, apart from just, I'd say networking. Networking is really important, but doing it in the right way. You can
authentically. You do it really authentically, by the way, Jacob. Sorry to jump in, but something that I've noticed about you over the years, that you're authentic in the way that you network.
I think that the biggest issue with a lot of people trying to network is they will message somebody and say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And then 99% that person will not respond to you.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Jacob doesn't do that. I was going to say, Jacob doesn't just say, "Hey, got a minute?"
Yeah, because if somebody says that, it could be anything. It could be literally anything. And let me actually pull up the message that I sent to Riv, because
the funniest part is I see that and I'm like, I wonder when I do have a minute. You
Let's
guys
see.
ready to queue for next game?
Yeah, I literally just sent I
Oh,
sent a long
man.
paragraph and I said, "Hey, hello. I hope you're good." And I said, "I was wondering if you have time at some point in the near future.
Nice.
I'd want to be on a podcast or hop on one." And I sent some proof slash those past stuff that we did, and then some stuff about me
Yep.
and what the
Yep.
podcast would be. If I sent a message saying, "Hello, do you have a few minutes?" and then I would never get a response back, literally never. And I
Like,
have so many
this
people who
Jacob
message
guy.
me as well, and they go like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I really don't want to like respond to them with "Can you just please ask the question?" because that's like disrespectful from me. But it's just so frustrating that you would happily answer their question, but they could surprise you with anything. They could ask you anything, something that you even wouldn't want to answer, and then you get put in that situation where it's like too awkward for you to like say no sometimes. So
Yeah.
number one piece of advice if you're networking with people, reaching out, just ask someone what you want. Ask them just a concrete piece of like information. Just say something. Don't just say, "Hey, I have a question." That is my number one piece of advice. That's it.
Some good advice across the board. I'm
Well,
happy with
number
that.
three actually, because you guys stole my top two.
All right, cool. Well, I think people watching this know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good place to be. But yeah, I'm excited to listen, Riv. You're there's no such thing as there's nothing as good as actually learning from people in person. And I'm looking forward to actually. I think me and you. I don't know if we're allowed to say or whatever, but I think we're working together.
We're working together soon
We're working together soon, which is really
We
cool.
are.
And there's some other really cool people working on that event. So
on something.
on something, but that'll be fun. Looking forward to meeting you, man.
Hell yeah.
Well, I
Gonna be
do
sick.
have some more questions as well that I was specifically interested in as well. So we spoke
Shoot 'em.
about this previously a little bit, but this is mainly for you, Riv.
Mhm.
The journey of like transferring from League of Legends to Valorant. Obviously, with League,
Yeah.
casting League, the way my brain works when I play League or listen to League, if I see like Ezreal throw his Q, I know it is a Q. If I see Ezreal jump or like dash or whatever, I know it's an E. I know all the champions by QWER. I don't know the actual names of the abilities because I just never
The
care to
Mystic
learn
Shot
it.
and Arcane
Exactly.
Shift.
Mystic Shot, Arcane Shift. I know that's a Q, that's an E, but you guys have it so many different abilities you need to remember. And every time I watch a League of Legends broadcast, I feel like people do it so well. And my question was, how difficult was it to kind of like transition with all that knowledge you had in League of Legends to going to Valorant and kind of learning the abilities there? Did it take a long time? Did you also kind of take that into your analysis as well when you started doing analyst desk work? Is there kind of like many major differences you would say between the two games?
That transition was like diving into the most glorious pool of where my brain wanted to be for so long. I love League.
Mhm.
League was great. I loved League commentary. But at the end, I was very burnt out from League
Mhm.
due to the fact that that game changes so damn much every single season. And I felt like uh well, I loved that so much at the start. Like I was a kid who brought the pamphlet to your whatever video game you bought to school so I could read it 40 times over, even though it just told you how to use the basic gun and then the controls of the game. Like I love that. I love going through the new changes. I love going through everything. And then it like I started to fall out of love with it because it kind of burnt me out on that style. And I don't think I ever really recognized burnout before that. Everybody always be like, I'm getting burned out. And I'd be like, we cast video games. What do you mean you're getting burned out? But no, it's very real. You can't have that mentality. So I think I burned myself out there. And then my commentary was also going to only Academy. So I was casting a little bit less and doing more interviews. So my commentary started to atrophy in that sense. And my brain, well, I wanted to get better, Ian, as I spoke to both of you before, like that being able to develop kept hitting speed bumps. I was like, well, I could try this next cast. And then it'd be like, well, I'm trying too many things this cast. And that was around 2019, 2020, I think, when I didn't go to Worlds and I hung out and I was able to chill with the Valorant team. And I was like, cool, this is an option. So it was kind of like doing League when the seasons came up, doing interviews and whatnot. and then preparing to transition to Valorant. But like at that point, I was like, I never ever thought this would happen. I never thought like I would find an FPS to cast again. And it is like a complete resurgence that I absolutely needed. I never really played MOBAs before League. So to take on MOBAs for 10 years from like a start to finish, it was definitely an up and then a slowly decrease down. And now back to FPS, back to learning Valorant. It's like that, you know? It's not that one player has 4 champions. Those 4 champions have 4 abilities plus an ultimate plus a passive. And then you're talking about
all the items, everything,
armor mitigation, like, okay. In the beginning, I loved it. I was like, boom, because there wasn't much stuff. Tristana's on an 8-second cooldown. You could make that intensity. She's about to rocket jump again in like 2 seconds. Can they get out of this? Like, can you do that anymore? No, because Tristana might be on a 3-second cooldown. So like that flavor, that love, I kind of lost for the game. And one of the biggest changes that actually made me really not like casting League of Legends anymore was when they took the summoner names away for any type of lockdown. You'd be casting a fight ready to switch a name, and it's like, and then silenced. Oh, and then unstoppable. Like, you're just like, where'd the name go? And it really flustered my casting, and it was already too deep and ingrained in a style. So like going to Valorant was just like a big hug. Valorant was like, come here, buddy. And I was like, yes, I'm giving you a bear hug. And I've loved it. I've loved it ever since. I love actually analyzing. It's such a way to change the style of commentary I was doing, but it slows me down. It takes that like hyper ADHD, and I can now like get my thoughts out and be like, I can just speak about this moment, but still be hyped because I feel even better what I'm talking about because I played Counter-Strike for 10 plus years. So, yeah, it's been glorious.
Yeah, I feel similar about Valorant as well. I've had so many more opportunities working in it to just do extra cool things when working, even doing replays. Like the fact that we can just pull any feed from any player's screen and just show a replay of it exactly as they're seeing it. If we miss something, we can always get it back. And we had a really, really cool workflow last season in EU that we did the show, and it just worked so well. And I just appreciated how much like freedom I had to do stuff and how much like simpler it was than other games as well, but at the same time being so hectic with all the abilities. But it wasn't too much. Maybe in like 5 years time when there's like 250 agents, everybody does something else. Now you've got all these new agents coming out with like these insane abilities, basically Mordecai's are all but inside of Valorant. Insane. So
looks like it.
We'll see what will be happening in the future. But yeah, I did really enjoy just switching over to Valorant as well, and I kind of like feel a lot in the same way as you did, like 100%. I have a question for you, Ian, though, as well. Doing host work, when you go between games, do you kind of, what are the kind of like skills that you like bring along to each kind of game? Do you like take something you learn from one game title to another, or do you kind of just like keep everything separate?
I think it's something that I struggled with at first. Like there's a pressure that comes with it when you're jumping around, and it's a lot of it's in your own head. Like you think that people are judging you, and does he know enough? Do you know enough about the game? And I've never been that. I've never seen truly the appeal of locking myself into one specific place, because I think variety is the spice of life for me, and it works for me, and I really like it. Don't get me wrong. If the right opportunity came up, would I think about it? Of course. But at first I used to get a bit of imposter syndrome at certain events, and I'd be like, "Oh, am I qualified enough? Have I done enough prep? Do I know enough?"
Thing.
Yeah, it is. And then it's only been like the last year where I started to realize that. Don't get me wrong, I'm doing all the prep, but the prep to be a great host came in years of experience that I've already done, and it's there. The fundamentals of being a good host. Don't get me wrong, you have to know the game. I've been reading so much about Valorant for this Japan job that's coming up next week, and also I'm learning about all of the storylines that are going on in Siege, because it's a different kettle of fish. When 1 minute I'm on the desk, the next I'm on the stage, and then the next I'm doing player interviews. And, it's
you got to do something random in the crowd for like 5 minutes before getting back to the desk.
That's it, and it's a lot. And I think for anybody out there that does jump around a lot, you can't do it. Obviously, as an analyst or in casting, you can't really get away with not knowing absolutely everything. But as a host, like it's your job ultimately to be a fantastic facilitator of your analysts and make sure that they shine on the highest level. And luckily I've got I've got a good track record of my analysts loving working with me. So let's hope that continues. But yeah, ultimately, Jacob, it's a case of prepping as much as physically possible, but you can't replicate playing the game all the time. You just can't. It's just, and I don't have the time, to do that for several different games while also, Jacob, running the company and all that I've got on the side hustle. So yeah, but I'm loving it, and I won't change it for the world.
Speaking of playing games, we had a question come in from somebody on Twitter. They asked, "For you, Rivington, the X, not Twitter. It is X now, from the X. They said, what are your favorite games to play right now, and would you want to work on them as well, in some capacity?"
So currently, my favorite games are, I have to say, Hunt Showdown first. I
love
put
it.
so many hours in that game. My friends got me addicted last year, and any day I'd work on that game in like any capacity. I wish I wasn't in the game design or game industry so long and like know nothing about a game design approach, because I'd be like, let me come design some things in that game. Because I feel like that's just what every gamer wants to do in their armchair and be like, I could design this. Second would have to be Valorant. Valorant's still there. I don't play much of it right now, but I'm still watching. I'm still consuming, so it is definitely a favorite. And third is very new, because it's been so long since I played an MMO, and I was like, I looked at my friend and I was like, let's try some Old Republic. So I'm playing SWOTA right now.
Okay.
Nice.
And it's been a blast. Okay. It's been really fun. So it's cool. And they're about to get my money, I think. Damn it.
I started playing some Smite recently. Smite, the third-person MOBA.
Okay.
Because my housemate got second place at the World Console Championships years ago, and he's now just queuing with me. So he's in jungle, absolutely wrecking everybody.
Oh.
And then just me in the mid lane, just like
easy.
Getting carried. Or maybe I'm like I'm on ADC and he's supporting, and it's just great because it feels so familiar being a MOBA, but then it's third person, so it's like giving it a fresh kind of like outlook on what it is. And I made an account for the game when it was in beta, like 11 years ago. So I still have it. So I have like the rarest icon in the game, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, how do you have this icon?" And I'm just like, I just made an account 11 years ago, didn't play it since. But here I am now, just a ton of fun. So I've been playing a lot. He
must be really good. How's he died 11 times?
I'm playing a ton of Smite. It's just fun, get to play with friends. Hunt Showdown, one of my favorites as well. Absolutely love that game. And then I also love myself some Dark and Darker. That's been one of my favorites currently as well. It's like Escape from Tarkov style medieval game.
Yeah.
So I've been a massive fan of that. But those are my kind of top 3 right now. And what about you, Ian? What are you gaming?
I'm spinning too many plates at the minute, gaming wise. I've rebooted up Miles Morales on the PS5 because I'm trying to complete that in time to get Spider-Man 2. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 comes out tomorrow, right? So that's coming in the post. And I'm playing The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, trying to complete that in time. Oh. And I bet none of you are playing this right now.
Oh, is it going to be the Oculus?
This is the greatest game. No. I've been playing VR actually. I've been playing a canoe game on the VR on PSVR 2. This is the game, guys.
Forgotten Land.
Never played it.
I'm playing it with my girlfriend, 2-player at the minute. My girlfriend, she's got nothing to do with esports or gaming or anything. She works in fashion, and she'd never played video games ever.
Lucky.
And now
that explains why your wardrobe is better recently.
Mate, it's been, the last year I've stepped my game up. She's like, you're not wearing that. You're not wearing that, bro. But now she's like, can we play Kirby tonight? What else can we play that's 2-player? So this is all good. It's good.
So moving on as well to another question that was submitted. Top 3 movies. Top 3 movies.
Well, I have 3. What are they top? I know number 1 is Labyrinth.
Okay.
That's an old hit. A lot of people might have to look that one up.
I'm looking it up right now.
David Bowie. Yeah.
Okay.
David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly. crazy movie about a baby getting taken to a goblin kingdom.
Okay, that sounds good.
But it's super good. It's Jim Henson Muppets, so it's like
Oh yeah.
really cool. They're like really well designed Muppets and animatronic stuff. It's a really cool movie. And then I think I have to go with probably Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber. Ace Ventura because I realized so late in life. I'd always be like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey, I love Jim Carrey. And then I realized it was Ace Ventura that I grew up idolizing. Like mannerisms and like just the tone and loudness that I was all the time and stupid faces I'd make and just being a child in situations. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is ingrained in me. And then Dumb and Dumber because again, Jim Carrey. And we used to watch that movie before our varsity soccer games back in high school.
I see like Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey in general, especially that period in the 90s. It's like comfort food when I watch it. Like it just makes me feel so. It's like nostalgia and everything all wrapped into one. I love Jim Carrey in that era. Even like Liar Liar is a good film, but
yeah. Except for Cable Guy. Cable Guy was weird.
Cable Guy was so weird.
Cable Guy was weird.
My top 3. Die Hard number 1.
Let's see it.
Die Hard is number 1.
Shit,
I've never seen it
Forever. Jacob,
Never seen it. I'm sorry.
Okay, wait, quick hit on that. Question 1A. Do you start watching it immediately during the holidays, like in November, or do you wait to December?
I always wait until December. So like, there's a set amount of films. Yeah, there's a set amount of films that I only watch when it hits December. Die Hard. Anybody who says it's not a Christmas movie, get lost. It definitely is. I just love it. What about you, Jacob?
All really good movies.
I would say for me, number 1 is Parasite. Parasite is my number 1 Korean film.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 2.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Number 2.
Heard it was great.
The Joker. Joker is my number 2. And number 3, I would say Interstellar, which I've seen for the first time like a few weeks ago.
You're so much,
shit.
Me and Riv pulling out all these 90s classics. You're so much younger than us, bro. Except for Equalizer. That's the only one.
But let me tell you, I also watched Inception for the first time like a few weeks ago. I thought it was terrible.
I think it's a good place to end the call.
I'm just getting two really bad looks right now. I'm just getting
you don't like Inception and you haven't seen Die Hard, bro.
Listen, I probably have seen Die Hard. My dad probably put it on the TV while we were like having like Christmas dinner or something. But
have you ever seen a man take an icicle to the eye?
Nope, but maybe I will soon.
Fair enough.
All right, and
it's in the lineage of Die Hard, but you'll get.
And last question as well, from
the
chat that we had before we finish things off. What esports teams or team do you support?
Oh my gosh, this is actually a great question because I never really did ever watching esports and stuff. I just felt like it made it easier to cast. Plus, growing up, I played a ton of sports, but the way I put it was I never collected the cards. You know, I didn't really watch basketball, but I'd play the crap out of it. I didn't really watch soccer until a lot of Premier League a few years ago, but so back in the day, I definitely enjoyed one team called Monomaniac. I don't know if you remember like the 5-year-olds that were playing League of Legends. I think it was like Nintendo and a bunch of people when they were like 16 and just old enough to play, but they were really good. And I was like, damn, these kids are like it's just really fun to watch them play. And recently, I'd say due to like friends and who I know on it, I'd say it'd probably be 100 Thieves.
Okay.
100 Thieves if there's a team out there that I currently root for. Yeah. I was really good friends with Hiko kind of when he went in there. I've known Nate for a while since Call of Duty casting back in the day. Like not super close, but just through connections back and forth as we talk. Connections are important. But yeah, a lot of that stuff. 100 T. Let's go.
Okay. What about you, Ian? Any teams you support right now?
Well, I mean, I may as well have the Guild Esports logo tattooed on my chest. I've been a in-house presenter / creator for them for the last 3 years. So like, I love Guild. Obviously, they're not competing in as many esports now, but they're sort of like transitioning into like more of a gaming entertainment company, and their headquarters are in London. It's amazing. But I love M80. You know, I'm a big M80 fan, especially in R6. I love the M80 roster. Spoit, young guy, one of the best players coming up in the game, and Iconic, who's like just one of the coolest guys out there at the minute. I think he could be a real flag bearer for R6 Esports, because I think like that scene is crying out for some like really big characters to like put it on their back and just be a bit, cool and bit of a confident asshole when he needs to be and all that. You need those sort of characters, don't you? Like, not arrogant, but like good people, but look like they believe that they're meant to be there. And I love those sort of players in all sorts of sports. Esports and basketball and football. Those guys who like, I'll put the team on my back and carry it. So I love M80, man. Big M80 fan, but Guild Esports has to be the answer, Jacob.
I'm a massive TSM Golden Guardians fan. I love Golden Guardians recently.
Heck yeah.
Because the whole management team and staff are amazing. Met them in person during MSI for League of Legends. They're awesome. They do it great. The jersey they released for this Worlds was incredible. It's like a beautiful black jersey with like a drawn like sword of like flowers around it. Nice. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I'm not wrong. I think that's what it is. I'm 99% sure it's what it is. But it's beautiful. I really wanted to buy it, and they lost the first match and got knocked out. So very unlucky. But jersey is still on sale. You can still buy the jersey. They just won't play anymore, sadly. But those are the kind of two teams I support a lot, and it's both in League of Legends and TSM with Apex. I saw them play in Birmingham recently. That was a ton of fun to see. They won. Incredible. I also do enjoy watching some Halo esports as well. I like supporting Navi in Halo.
Yeah.
Navi Halo is awesome.
Yeah, Navi and Halo. That's a good choice. I love Halo esports too.
Yeah, really awesome people. And then you've got Quadrant as well, which is Lando Norris's team, who also compete in Halo, which is awesome. So I've been quite a bit of fan of them.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Good choices, man.
That's so cool. That sounds good. I like that. Those good choices.
Okay, so
Jacob, no pressure, but it's
well, I was going to ask.
You're going to nail this outro. I was going to.
Well, I was going to ask for you one piece of advice. How do I do an outro,
Ian? Just make sure you say goodbye. Thanks for watching at the very end, and you're clear.
Okay. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
No. You got to thank us first. I'm kidding.
Well, thank you to Ian for doing the outro. Do the outro.
Okay, I'll do the outro. All right. This podcast has been a pleasure. Thanks for having myself, Jacob, for putting this all together. It's always nice to share different people's perspective from in very different lanes in this industry. Riv, I've been watching you from the sidelines for a long time. It's been good to talk to you and hear some of your amazing insight over the years. And
likewise.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And this is where I hit the button to go to the end.